South Africa is heading into one of the most consequential budget moments in recent years, as Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana prepares to table the 2026 national budget under intense political, economic, and social pressure. This will be the Finance Minister's second budget under the Government of National Unity, and arguably his most difficult, arriving at a time when public trust in fiscal management is fragile and economic patience is wearing thin. An economy under strain. The backdrop to this budget is a sluggish economy struggling to gain momentum. Economic growth remains weak, unemployment sits above 40% by the expanded definition, and millions of households are relying on state support to survive. At the same time, government finances remain constrained. Debt servicing costs continue to consume a growing share of the national budget, limiting the room for new spending. This has left the National Treasury facing a familiar but increasingly complex dilemma: how to stimulate growth without triggering fiscal instability. The challenge is compounded by the political reality that last year's budget was postponed, an unprecedented move after fierce opposition to a proposed VAT increase. That moment fundamentally reshaped expectations around what is politically acceptable in fiscal policy. Political pressure from all sides. Pressure on the finance minister is not coming from one direction. Political parties across the spectrum, labor federations, and civil society organizations have all set clear and sometimes conflicting expectations. President Cyril Ramaphosa has already made ambitious commitments, including the hiring of thousands of labor inspectors and intensified efforts to combat organized crime and illegal mining. Each of these priorities requires funding, coordination, and long-term sustainability, all of which must now be reflected in the budget framework. The debate over tax and spending. One of the central questions ahead of the budget is whether South Africans will face higher taxes. Political opposition parties have drawn a clear line, warning against any increases in VAT, personal income tax, or corporate tax. Instead, there is growing pressure on Treasury to demonstrate discipline on the spending side. Calls to cut waste, reduce corruption, and improve efficiency have become a common theme, particularly as households face rising costs for food, transport, and energy. Concerns have also been raised about the impact of illicit trade, especially in alcohol and tobacco. Analysts estimate that illegal markets cost the state tens of billions of rand each year in lost revenue, money that could otherwise support social programs or reduce borrowing. Social support and the poorest South Africans. Another critical issue is the future of income support for the poorest citizens. Civil society groups and opposition parties are pushing for clarity on whether temporary social relief will evolve into a permanent basic income grant. With poverty and inequality deeply entrenched, the budget is expected to signal whether government intends to expand social protection, and if so, how it plans to fund it sustainably without increasing the tax burden. The sustainability of municipalities has also emerged as a major concern. Many local governments remain financially distressed, undermining service delivery and investor confidence. Reforming the municipal finance model is increasingly seen as essential to stabilizing the broader economy. Workers, jobs, and growth. Labor organizations have warned that the budget must offer real hope to working-class South Africans. Unemployment remains one of the country's most pressing crises, while economic growth continues to lag behind population growth. There are calls for a large-scale stimulus package that brings together public funding, development finance institutions, private banks, and investment funds to unlock infrastructure development and industrial expansion. At the center of these demands is the belief that job creation, not austerity, must be the primary objective of fiscal policy. State-owned enterprises and fiscal risk. Another major test for the finance minister will be how the budget addresses the ongoing burden of state-owned enterprises. Years of bailouts have strained public funding, while reforms have progressed slowly. Civil society organizations are calling for decisive action, including restructuring, equity partnerships, or exits from non-core entities to protect taxpayers from repeated financial rescues. This issue goes beyond accounting. It is about restoring credibility to the state's role in the economy and ensuring that public resources are used effectively. A budget of credibility. Ultimately, the 2026 budget is shaping up to be more than a financial statement. It is a test of credibility, governance, and political will. South Africans are not only listening for new spending promises or tax announcements, they are looking for evidence that government can align its words with action, that reform will be structural rather than cosmetic, and that accountability will replace waste. Closing. As Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana prepares to rise in Parliament, expectations could hardly be higher. For households under pressure, businesses seeking certainty, and investors watching closely, this budget may determine whether South Africa can chart a credible path towards growth, stability, and shared prosperity. The numbers will matter, but the message behind them may matter even more.